Welcome back into another episode of Making the Leap. We are so glad you're here with us today. It has been pretty active last couple of months with guests coming in and out, talking with us via phone in the studio. And I've just been really excited about the wide variety of topics we've been covering. We've been talking about special ed, talking about psychology, talking about
what I was
kingdom
thinking?
education.
I was thinking the other day what would be useful, and I think I'm going to talk to the boys about this who put the thing together. I think we should put together a library of subject matter so that people can easily access, all of these shows that we kind of do them when guests become available. But I thought to myself, we could start to amass a library by subject matter.
Yes.
Don't you think?
Oh, I think that would be great because I was also thinking about when I go back to look, like somebody asked me who we had on or who we were talking, and I'm rolling now through 60 plus episodes trying to find, 70 episodes trying to find where it was. I think that's a great idea.
So we're going to add to the subject matter library today. This would be another category when we're discussing, how to impact people that homeschool, home educate, or Christian educate. We've talked about everything now from sex education to ag to science and math.
Yes.
But what about business?
I know. So today we have a new topic, and we are talking with John Foster, who is the founder of the business education model, or a founder of a business education model called the MBA, Middle School MBA program. And we're so excited to have you with us today from the mountains of Colorado, no less. That's a new one for us.
Hello, John.
John, welcome in. Thank you.
Hi, thank you guys. I'm so happy to be here with you.
We're thrilled. I was glad to make the connection with you, just your excitement and enthusiasm. Middle school is something that was close to my heart. I was a middle school teacher for about 8 years and switched a little bit to preschool. Didn't see much of a difference sometimes between the two ages, and just love them. Love middle schoolers a lot. And so this combining something that generally is reserved for traditionally in schools, older students, older populations. I love the fact that it's being brought to middle school students because just the access to knowledge of finance and economics and money, I think, is so, so important.
Yes, and these they are so into it. We originally actually thought that we would be doing this in high school. We developed, we call it an MBA, Masters of Business Administration, for a reason, because we really are dealing with graduate level topics. You're lucky to get, if you go to grad school and get some of these topics that we discussed, you were in a good program. Not all of them have it. And we learned how to teach these things a lot younger, and originally thought that we'd be doing it with high schoolers, but we kept finding that we could make it work younger and younger. And we even have some schools doing it in fourth grade. It's crazy.
Wow,
that's amazing.
Can you explain that, John? How does that? I know we can't go through your entire curriculum, but could you give listeners an example of how you would introduce MBA level teaching, or something we would consider MBA level teaching, to someone who's a middle schooler or maybe as young as fourth grade? That's very interesting.
Yeah, so academics have kind of compartmentalized everything, across so many subjects to such a degree that it becomes stale and kind of, I don't know, very, very uninteresting. But in an MBA program, it's sort of applied academics. And so you're dealing with the real world. How do we make a connection with a customer and offer them something that they're willing to buy at a cost that allows us to make a profit in providing it to them? And so that's the business function. Everybody kind of gets that: buy low, sell high, and all these simple things. But we combine business, economics, and entrepreneurship the way it's done in an MBA program. And so the economics, and this is how the world really is, economics is sort of the abstraction of business principles. I mean, when Aristotle first looked around and said, what's going on with this commercial stuff? I see people making things and selling them and exchanging money and charging interest for money. What's going on here? He tried to understand the nature of this whole process, and he was really the first economist. He didn't get everything right. It's taken 2,500 years to sort out all the various bad turns down the road and other things. But that same very holistic view is what we take. We start with some of the very simplest stuff. We what is a price? How do we find prices? And so we have activities where kids negotiate, and we set up the negotiation. We get right to the crux of the matter very quickly. We teach them what's the framework of a negotiation, and then what are the pieces that go inside that, and then very quickly put them into a situation where they're staring another kid in the eye and anchoring and countering and all the stuff that people do. And so they have a real visceral feel for where the prices come from and what do they mean. And then we take those and we walk up step by step to the abstraction of that, which is the laws of supply and demand, which are not so weird. It's these are just normal human behavior. If a price is higher, then people are willing to bring more of those things to the market, but at the same time, if the price is higher, people are willing to buy less of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they understand these things not as abstract charts that you didn't really understand when you were in college, but as just the way people are.
So these are concepts, John, if I may, these are concepts that young people can understand. Because what I really want to boil it down to is if we have a homeschooler of a child, a middle schooler, your program is something that they could teach and introduce to kids at a very young age. It's not a college-level course. It is designed to introduce these themes to young people in a way that they can digest it.
Absolutely, absolutely. But to give them an understanding that's so deep that when they show up in college, they go, yeah, I get it. I've seen all this before.
Which would be great because I remember sitting in college in economics twice, actually, because I did not do well the first time. They felt very overwhelming because I really didn't have much of a base, which in retrospect kind of blows my mind a little bit. I had parents that were small business owners, but anything involving economics, I just thought math I don't understand, and so I'm out. And so I kind of just shut myself down from understanding it. And so I'm very intrigued when you talk about, younger kids because
well, that's a great point.
I know where my head is.
Let me ask that, John. Do you have to what if your child is not particularly, and I'm not, I know. What if you're not mathematically hardwired? Is it about math per se? I would guess the answer is no.
The answer is no. In fact, that's really another wrong turn that academia has taken economics. It's not about math. It's about the way people behave. Again, back to supply and demand. We teach a deep understanding of it with no charts and graphs and no numbers bigger than what you got on your 10 fingers. But because it's not about math. So no, it's not math. And Christine, your experience is not the exception; it's the rule. Mm-hmm. Kids go and get hit with these things that seem just abstract and
daunting. It was just daunting
totally
to try to understand terms. Mm-hmm. I really do. I really feel like it's such a neat idea because the other thing we come across a lot are parents that just, including myself, again, that as I look at these courses, let's say we're talking about maybe an Algebra 2 or Spanish 3, or, we start getting where we're leveling things. We're making them, we're giving the impression, the idea that they're tough subjects, they're harder, we don't understand. Parents get intimidated by that. They don't think they can go ahead and break that down for their middle schooler or for their high schooler. And so, I've done that. I've thought, well, how do I can't teach, I don't know, I can't teach an Algebra 2. I can't teach an upper level physics or chemistry or economics for that matter. And so it's a fear, I think, that kind of builds for a parent, and they peel back and then they think, well, maybe homeschooling's not the choice. But I love that you are creating something that is saying, no, it's the 10 fingers on your hand, like you just said. It's the charts and the graphs and understanding psychology more than mathematics.
Yes, and I think in every case, whatever subject you're talking about, the trick, I mean, nobody's an expert at everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole reason we
Sure.
specialize in things. But if you go out and look, you can find people who have when we were in college, we would go by the Shams outline because it was so much clearer and straightforward than the textbook you were reading.
Mm-hmm.
And there's resources like that out there. You mentioned algebra and chemistry and some of those. And let me just put in a plug for Stanley Schmidt's books, The Life of Fred. I know homeschoolers are very familiar with those books. If parents are looking for help teaching something like that, go look at these books. Stanley Schmidt is a genius, and he's written, 60, 70 books, and he makes these things so clear and simple to follow that, he's the guy for all of that.
John,
for economics, come see us.
Yeah.
But for everything else, go see Stanley Schmidt.
Have you experienced or heard, I'm sure over the years that you've dealt with this curriculum and introduced it to homeschoolers and others, have you heard stories of young people that have decided, like a switch has flipped, and they've decided, hey, I never thought a moment about business, but then they become hardwired to maybe think they want to go become a business person, an entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's something I'm very interested in, and every time I get to sit in a classroom or interact with students, I'm very interested in, number one, do they understand it? Do they get all of these concepts? And then number two, what's their personal reaction to it? And in my estimation, like 85% of the kids in the class get it. They go, okay, I understand how all these linkages work and how this whole system functions. And for anybody, that's terrific. No matter what you're going to do with your life, it's going to be an employee or a business owner or an entrepreneur or a homemaker, whatever you're going to do, it's really helpful. But then there's some percentage, 2% or 5%, that see themselves. They say, this is me, this is my career, this is what I'm going to do. And it sets them on fire. So yeah, that's a beautiful thing to see. For all of them, it expands their worldview, and they say, I understand how these things work. A principal told me the other day that she was standing in the lunch line and heard two sixth-grade girls talking, and one of them says to the other, how much do you think the profit margin is on these Nutri-Grain bars? So, we're in their heads, and they're thinking about this stuff, and they see the world differently.
How important do you think it is? Because I know whether you're public school, private school, Christian, Catholic, doesn't matter. I would guess the vast majority of us did not get any exposure to that in any meaningful way in our K through 12 educations. Most of us of a certain age, I would guess. I think it's probably safe to say. And I'm sure you're biased, but I would ask you, how important do you think it is that young people begin to learn these themes and ideas at an early age? You obviously created a curriculum surrounding it, so you must think the answer is it's highly important.
Yes, it's so important. It's like okay, it's third down and 8. What's going to be the call? And imagine you're the coach. You've just been dropped into this game, and you got to make a call. But you don't know the score. You don't know how much time is on the clock. You don't know who your opponent is, and you just have sort of a casual understanding of the rules of the game. How are you going to make that call? And that's what we do with our kids when we just shove them out into the world without knowing how all these pieces fit together. With just the vaguest idea of just how it works. I mean, either you understand this game and you know how to play it, or the game is going to play you. So it's incredibly important that we give this to kids.
Is there any component of this? I actually have a couple questions, but is there anything? So we are primarily here at Making the Leap. We do talk a lot about the biblical worldview. We talked about kingdom education, how everything that we are teaching as parents for our kids, we would like to use the Bible as the filter. I understand that's not everybody's desire. I get that 100%. But in terms of this, for our podcast, what would you say are some biblical ideas or biblical principles that would be a good conduit to use for something like this when we're talking about money in the Bible, when we're talking about economics in the Bible? I know that's kind of a very broad question, but I wondered if you could speak to that a little bit.
Sure. No, well, the in the really big picture, free market economics owes its existence to Christian ideas. There's a reason that free markets originated in the Western world, and there's a reason that the Industrial Revolution happened first in the Western world, and it's because the Christian ideas of thou shalt not steal, don't covet, etc., the personal relationship with God are the things that those ideas originated the worth of the individual, the value of an individual soul. And from there you get ownership of yourself and ownership of your property and all the Lockean ideas of personal liberty and free markets.
Now, you can't have a meritocracy, John. You would say you could not have a meritocracy, a free market system where there's even value or price put on things without Christianity as an underpinning.
The connections are just inseparable. With private property and free markets, it's about the individual. With Marxism, which is essentially the opposite of free markets, private property is eschewed. They try to stamp out private property, stamp out the family, stamp out all of those things. It really is essentially the opposite. And the result is the opposite. Instead of people who prosper and reach their full potential, you have people who are suppressed and frankly murdered and tortured. It's in the same way that we can look at astronomy, and it can be just this cold science of the forces of gravity, etc., or it can be we can see the Creator's hand in this natural order of things. And economics is exactly like that in the social sphere. There's this, Adam Smith called it the invisible hand. I like to say that actually the invisible hand belongs to God. And that this is the way people were meant to interact with each other and to live. And so yeah, the Christian origins of free markets and the natural order, I think are very much go hand in hand.
How is this set up? So if we have, I know, for example, my sister is working with some people. They are putting together a co-op program where they are pulling in a lot of different subject matters, a lot of different topics. If someone was involved in a co-op per se, or they're homeschooling and, just themselves and their family, how is this program, how is your middle school MBA program set up do we need a computer, a device? Is it a hands-on model? Can you kind of share a little bit about what is involved in terms of what is needed for families?
And I'll tack on to that because that was where I was going to go too, John. I'm a homeschooler of one or two versus I'm in a co-op of 12.
12, yeah.
Is this good for group instruction, one-on-one instruction? And what length of time are you talking about? Weeks, months, a year, or more?
Yeah, so those are very great questions. So first of all, we don't want to give kids more screen time. So kids don't need a device. What our software brings everything that you need, but the way we do it is the teacher projects the software on the wall and uses that as a resource to teach the kids. So we're really blended learning in the truest sense, in that we don't try to go to the kids. We go to the teachers, and we want to do a mind meld with that teacher, whether it's the homeschool mom or the teacher in the co-op or whoever. And then through the teacher, we go to the kids. And so that way you have the advantage of a very advanced set of curriculum, but then personalized instructor from a teacher who knows every child in the classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And so all you need is a laptop and a projector in a school situation. In a small homeschool situation, you can just use your laptop and work through it with the child. But it's not a we want an active teacher involved.
Mm-hmm.
If we have a lot of activities that happen, so the teacher might be the MC or might be the ringmaster or might be the instructor, depending on the time.
Mm-hmm.
But we've built it so that anybody can do it. None of our teachers have a background in business or economics, essentially zero. But they and really one of the biggest hurdles is teacher intimidation.
Sure.
If you look on our website, you'll see videos of teachers saying, at first I didn't think I could do this, but then I found out it was really easy.
And this is ongoing, John, over weeks or months. Like this curriculum could run for how long? Would you say?
It's 35 hours or so, give or take, of instruction time, depending on. There's a lot of room for teachers to embellish and we try to set the dinner table and invite the guests, but then have a lot of things that just happen extemporaneously through the activities. And a teacher sent me a mail last week and said, we are having the greatest time. We're having all these discussions, many of them very deep and philosophical, and it brings out a lot of interesting things. Another thing that you mentioned before about parents who have businesses, et cetera, but yet their kids grow up without understanding those things. We have parents tell us that they have a new avenue to talk with their kids. They can now speak with them about their profession or their business or whatever, and they actually, in a way, become closer because the kids understand and appreciate what their parents are doing, and their parents can talk to them about deals or whatever it is that they're up to.
That's a really, I like that's a great way to bring it all together, so to speak, for families. I think I've had very surface level conversations at times with my parents, but understanding the business end of things, it just wasn't, I knew they were working very, very hard. I could tell when, things were going well, when things weren't going well, but to understand the underlying pieces of that would be something that I think would absolutely help foster relationships and connections.
It's a funny story. One day, originally I taught this myself. I was a junior achievement volunteer, and then I developed this curriculum from it, and I was teaching it. And one day I was walking down the hall at school, and a parent stopped me, and she said, "Are you the one that's teaching economics here?" And I'm like, "Yes, ma'am." You're not sure what you're going to get.
Yeah.
And she says, my husband and I had a long talk with little Jessica this weekend, and she knows things about our business that I didn't know. How did you do that? And that was a really good day at school.
Yeah. Those moments as a teacher are incredible. That's awesome.
So, John, step one, if people are listening to this and they're interested and maybe they'd like to introduce this to their kids, what would you recommend?
Oh, you can go to middleschoolmba.com, and you can just scroll down the home page and see example lessons and all sorts of things, how it works, our 3D model. We have a proprietary 3D model, which is one of the ways that we teach so fast, so young. And so they can see all that there. They can contact me through the website if they like. You can just buy it right there on the site if you like. You can sign up and buy a copy. We're going to do a discount for your listeners.
Awesome.
If they put in the discount code, let's see, what is this one?
And while you're looking, I just want to preface one more time that this is, if somebody is listening at a Christian school or a startup Christian school, or they're homeschoolers, this curriculum can be implemented in any of those venues. Yes,
that's correct. Any of those situations. If you have, like if you have one kid in a homeschool, then as the teacher, you're going to take a number of roles. You'll
Sure.
be the teacher, you'll be the master of ceremonies, you'll take one side of a negotiation, et cetera, et cetera. If you have a bigger class, then you're more setting up the kids to do things together. But sure, it's very easy to do it with your one kid at home, if that's or what some people do is invite the neighbors over.
Sure.
Have 3 or 4 neighbor kids come over and do it together.
That's neat.
I think that's really
So
cool.
people,
So
if they want to order this
ahead.
thing, you said they get a discount if they listen to the show, huh?
Yes, and that code is LEAP 2023, LEAP 2023 for a 20% discount.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well,
Thank you.
I hope everybody takes advantage of it. If this is intriguing, it's a great savings. Thank you, first of all, for offering that a discount to the listeners. That's fantastic. We met you through a friend, and this has been enlightening. I have to say, I don't think I probably ever imagined, and that's my own fault, because listening to what you said, it makes total sense to me. I never imagined talking about this K through 12. I never imagined talking about this in college, quite frankly, because it wasn't my forte. And now you've made the case that this really should just be part of the arsenal of everyday learning for kids as they come up. Kids would be better if they had this as one of the, if you want to call it gen ed courses.
Or a fundamental, fundamental course.
Absolutely. I mean, when your kids walk into a store, you don't want them to walk in there and see the merchandise. You want them to walk in there and see the store's business plan, right? That's the sort of depth that and sophistication that I would like every kid to have.
That's a tremendous idea, and I do think we've talked a little bit about this personally in our own home. As our kids are working and they're paying taxes and they're now part of the economy. But they're now massive consumers. They're driving, they're paying insurance, they're buying their gas, and they are the ones that are stewards of their money. Which, of course, obviously, when we talk about biblically, that opens up another whole avenue of conversation. But I love that taking this back, down to kids in the 4th grade, 5th grade level, that just is such a better path to preparation than waiting until, like me, getting to economics, failing it, and thinking, well, this just doesn't apply. This doesn't apply to me. So I love that you've done something. I think done something to fill a hole, to kind of fill that gap that families need. So John, thank you so much for your time today. We very much appreciate it.
And we'll put all this information, John, in our show notes so that everybody can click directly on the link, and we'll put the promo code LEAP 2023 in the show description as well, so that everybody has it at the ready. John, thank you again for your time today. This was great.
No, thank you guys. I'm so grateful for what you're doing, and education has got to change. It's been a static mess for the last 100 years or so, and the things that you're doing are just so important.
Thank you, John.
Thank you very, very much.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks. Too, you too. Take care. It's funny. I start thinking about all the different ways, all the different concepts, all the different topics that schools have the ability to be teaching. And it's guys like him just kind of starting and creating something from scratch, bringing it into the forefront. I think about at our daughter's school, we have somebody teaching horticulture, just topics that we wouldn't normally get into that.
Well, I wouldn't have tried it.
No.
Even if I were homeschooling,
right.
I wouldn't. That conversation would never have occurred to me to even attempt.
No, and it's especially now. I think our kids, it's when they have phones in front of them. They're everywhere. TikTok is selling this or that. You've got all kinds of avenues to spend money, to learn about how it works. Like he said, walking into a store and looking at their business plan. Yeah. I don't even, as an adult, I get it, but I don't maybe fully get what that involves. You
know what it is? It's encouraging more critical thinking.
Yes.
That's what we thrive on as believers, as thinkers, as those who value homeschooling and teaching our kids first principles. It's questioning everything you're seeing, asking questions, being thoughtful and methodical, and not just being snowed and letting the culture wash over you, but rather looking at it and saying, what am I seeing here?
Right. Well, it's like I was thinking about as he was talking, at Target, for example.
Yeah.
I have shopped at Target. I occasionally will continue to shop at Target. I don't love everything about Target.
And now you're going to get the email.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Because my actual, like, where I was going with that was...
He called that thought. I haven't set foot in Target in...
I know you haven't. Well, that's because I'm out with our daughter.
Yeah, no, you do it. It's not even on principle. I haven't set foot in Target, and I think since I bought you a Roomba.
I know.
For Christmas one year.
Which I love, so that's phenomenal.
But since that whole they sell Satan stuff,
well, no, that's what I mean.
That's added incentive. I never go. But
no,
that's not why you're.
But that's actually what I was going to say is that as that was happening, and I know it's been happening for a while, but this past summer it kind of blew up even more.
Yeah.
And massive. Anna and I had conversations. I was having having conversations with friends all over the place about what Target was doing to drive consumerism, and it backfired on them a little bit. I think it really did. It sent a message to a lot of people who made then a lot of decisions about their money, being a steward of our money.
Yeah.
I think Bud Light can have the same. You can have the same kind of conversation. How is their marketing appealing to people? What is that telling people about the company and its values and its own business plan, for example? So I really do. I think about when he was talking, I thought, yes, this is ideal. When you walk into a place like a Target, what are they showing you about what they believe and what they know? And then how do you as a consumer interact with something like that? And and just so we're clear, I do avoid Target as much as possible.
I'll let you deal with that. I've got my own problems. In the meantime, if you want to subscribe to this podcast, we hope that you do so you never miss an episode. We have great conversations with people like John and all kinds of different subject matters. We'll continue to do that. We'll continue to seek out different curriculums that we think that you can plug and play in your homeschool situation, maybe your startup Christian school or your smaller Christian school setting.
And doing it in ways that's not intimidating. I feel like even with my limited knowledge and understanding of certain topics in this realm, I feel like I can go online, I could find that, and I could start utilizing it. And I think that is what parents who are looking to make that first initial leap, they have to get over some of that fear. And I think this is maybe a way to do some of that.
And hopefully resources like his will be, I'll go check that out. I would never, even if it occurred to me to teach it, I would never know where to start to find it. So.
And I like what you said about like the library of topics, right? Like as maybe this will spark, we have another program like this Middle School MBA. Let's talk to that person. We're not looking to just showcase a one and done. We want to make sure that we're reaching a variety of people.
Maybe we steal from Prager and do a Herzog U. What do you think? Herzog U. You like that? What do you think, fellas? Can we do that? Let's work on that.
I think that's good. I'm sure they're like, great, more work to do.
All right, so we got all the information in the show notes at the bottom of the post here. So if you want to click on that link and enter the promo code and all that good stuff.
LEAP 2023.
Yeah, save yourself some money and leave us comments too. Let us know what you think about the show. Leave us reviews. Send us emails.
We'll respond to them. We read them. We book a lot of our guests. We're starting to have a lot of influx of emails coming in where I am then reaching out to people.
Letting us know they want to be on the show.
I love it. So it's very much appreciated. So we will read it. We'll respond. It might take a little bit because, again, it's getting a little busier.
We're very popular is what she's saying.
Or I'm very busy. I don't know. I don't want to get egotistical. I don't want to be up on, any kind of high horse.
You shop at Target.
But what do I know? So thank you for listening today. We will be back with you next week. Have a great one.
Making the Leap is a podcast presentation courtesy of the Herzog Foundation. Please rate and comment on the show, as well as subscribe so you never miss an episode. And we'll see you next time on Making the Leap.